Here's a question for you. If you bought a static caravan, are you glad you did? Many of us will have fond memories of family holidays spent on caravan parks where home for a few nights was a static caravan. And I'm not talking about the ones on wheels you pull behind a car. Statics are larger, a bit more permanent, and the poshest models can really be quite luxurious. Renting one for a holiday is simple. Pay a few £100, off you go. But buying one is a whole other kettle of fish. While a bricks and mortar holiday home is unaffordable for most people, buying a static caravan on a holiday park can be far more within reach. Indeed, many people pour their life savings or retirement funds into their own little slice of paradise, their very own holiday getaway caravan, which they can share with friends and family and let out to other holiday makers. So that's the dream. But a number of static owners have told this programme that they lost everything trying to pursue it. And it's no exaggeration to say it's left some people in ruin. A campaign group calling for better regulation in the industry says that people are being encouraged to spend tens of thousands of pounds on static caravans, only to later find out their vans are worth a fraction of what they paid. They point to unscrupulous sales methods, exorbitant annual fees charged by some holiday parks, and unsympathetic responses when people try to complain. So, did you regret buying a static caravan? Or perhaps you've had one for years, you love it, and you would gladly recommend it to others. Maybe you work in the holiday park industry and can share your insights with us. vine@bbc.co.uk is the email. Do leave us your number, or you can text 88291. Let's speak to Anna now. Anna's not your real name. And Anna, you lost thousands of pounds, did you, on a van you bought how long ago?
I bought it 4 years ago in 2019. So, yes, I have lost thousands of pounds on it. I'm actually about to walk away from it because I have recently found out through a campaign group that I can walk away after paying 50% of my finance. So I will have lost that 50% of my finance, and I've also lost £8,000 deposit that I put down. And I'll have obviously lost all the money that I paid out in site fees over the years too.
So tell us, 4 years ago, what were the circumstances of you buying it? You went through a difficult divorce, didn't you? And you were rebuilding your life, and this caravan was going to be your little piece of peace, as you called it.
Yes, it was. I bought it as sort of peace and escape. I had very happy memories of taking my children to static caravans when they were younger. A chance came up and I went for it. And, you know, I honestly thought it would be great. I was told that I would be able to rent out the caravan to make some of the site fees back. I did go in with a fairly sensible head, though, and I did work out off my monthly income and made sure that I could afford to pay it if I wasn't able or chose not to rent it out.
Okay.
However, what I wasn't prepared for was the massive increase in site fees and all of the on-costs after COVID. And so basically my site fees have doubled. Obviously, gas and electricity has massively increased. I do rent it out, but I have people charging their cars off my electricity, which is just impossible to stop.
So just let me just pause you and just ask for people who don't know how this works, how owning a static caravan works. So how much did you pay up front?
I paid £30,000.
£30,000, and what were you buying exactly?
So I bought a 2-year-old caravan for £30,000.
As well as the pitch?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the first year, when you buy it, all of your site fees and on costs tend to be included. So it seems like a really good deal. And, you have to read your paperwork and your licence agreement very carefully. But I think the main thing is that the industry is not regulated at all. So quite often it's just not worth the paper it's printed on. So the site fees have massively increased. COVID has been blamed, and post-COVID has been blamed for a lot of the perks for owners being decreased or not started up again.
Right.
So things like the kind of clubhouse, gym, pool, they just didn't reopen. No staff, couldn't recruit.
Could you not get your money back by selling it?
I did try. So I've tried to sell privately. First of all, I tried to sell to the park because you have to give first refusal to the park.
Okay.
They told me they weren't buying back because so many people are trying to exit caravan park sites at the moment, selling their statics back. So they refused. Then I tried some traders. And traders were literally offering me like £4,000 and £5,000. Well,
£4,000 and you paid £30,000 for it just 4 years ago. Wow.
4 years ago, yeah. And but the thing with it is as well, I do know that kind of the caravan parks will buy back off the finance companies as well. So this happened to one of my friends last year. She did walk away from hers, and it was on the caravan park showground within a week for £47,000, which was more than double what she'd paid for it 3 years ago. And that was a second-hand van.
But surely they could have paid her.
Yeah, exactly.
She could have. If they get first refusal, right? I mean, there's a lot here. I mean, could you not? And then this letting. So presumably, you know, if it's a static caravan that you use for holidays, you can let it out. If also cost of living crisis, energy bills, that's going up. So it's understandable that, you know, those site fees may have gone up a bit, running costs. But would that not then be reflected in the cost of you letting it out, or the rate that you set? How does the letting work?
So the letting works. So some parks allow you to let out and some parks don't. My park does, so it is in the licence agreement. I mean, although they could change their mind about that at any time. However, my gas, my electricity has obviously really increased. My sewerage and water's really increased. My site fees have doubled in 3 years. But the amount of money at which I could let it out at has actually gone down because the holiday market's very competitive and people are looking for cheap breaks. They want a cheap break. And when you've kind of got marketing by some of these static caravan parks with a lead-in price of, you know, come and have a 4-day break for sort of £89 or £69, and there are dates that you can find at that. But as a private owner, you can't possibly rent out your caravan for that money. I mean, just alone, my cleaner and my bedding changes cost £75 per turnaround.
Okay.
So if I have somebody in on a Friday to a Monday weekend, I already have to give the cleaner £150. Then I have to make sure that I cover my gas and my electricity. And so, you know, I've got to think of a price where I do make something for myself.
It's just not worth it, is it? Doesn't sound like it's worth it. Yeah. Anna, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let's go to Carol Keeble next, who runs a holiday park action group on Facebook, which has more than 40,000 disgruntled current and former static caravan owners on it. Carol, this sounds like it is a significant problem.
It's a very big problem. 44,000 plus we currently have now, and this story is repeated over and over again. So it tells us that something is very wrong in the industry on the behalf of the consumers, obviously not the holiday parks. When people actually purchase a caravan or lodge, they believe they're paying for the cost of that caravan or lodge. They are not told that the cost also includes the license agreement, which is for a certain number of years. So they sign the license agreement, and of course they agree to pay pitch fees every year. Some of those are now being very high. So why would they think the initial price would actually include anything other than the true value of the caravan? But it's only when people want to sell back or get into trouble that they realise that the tin commodity they have purchased has very little value in its own right. None of this is made clear to the consumers at the onset, and they are purchasing without all the information they should have to make an informed decision. The license agreement has an equitable value, just as a lease would, and that value is added to the price of the caravan unbeknown to the consumer.
Okay. Well, We contacted the two trade bodies which represent the industry. Neither was able to provide a spokesperson for interview today, but both sent us lengthy statements. Let's hear a bit of what the British Holiday and Home Parks Association told us.
Thousands of people buy holiday caravans and lodges each year and are entirely satisfied. Holiday caravans are intended as a long-term purchase to be enjoyed over a period of years, and their value will fall over time, with the greatest depreciation coming in the short term. Pitch fees are needed by holiday parks to maintain and continually improve their facilities. The most common factors for rises in pitch fees are inflation and the operating costs of the park. Increases may be challenged if a reasonable number of holiday caravan owners on a park wish to do so. The holiday parks industry is an important contributor to rural economies and local employment, and remains one of British tourism's most dynamic and successful sectors, thanks, in many respects, to the high regard in which it is held by the buyers of holiday caravans, many of whom make repeat purchases.
What do you make of that? Surely there are many people who are having a nice time in their static caravan by the beach.
No doubt, there are still lots of consumers who are enjoying what they've actually bought. But those good parks are now very few, and it's becoming a very expensive lottery to actually end up on a good park. Those self-appointed regulators do not have a code of practice across all of the industry. And while they're happy to lobby for protection of park owners, they show absolutely no care or concern to the consumers who pay their way. And the page now having 44,000 people who are unhappy and face ruin.
And Carol, can you share just some of those personal stories with us? Obviously, don't tell us the the exact locations or anything, but just give us a sense of we heard obviously from Anna, who has lost some money, but are there cases where people have lost everything?
Oh, absolutely, including their lives. We do have people who have contemplated suicide because of this. And when you think there is nowhere for these people to turn who actually understand the industry, because it's portrayed as being the great British holiday park industry.
Yeah.
But we do talk to these people that have nowhere to go. And that is how we know just how bad and endemic all the bad practices now are.
Yeah.
There is even one person who did actually lose his life. He did take his life before we could get to him to relay to him that we had sorted his issues out. It was too late, and that's just people that we know of. There are lots of people who haven't found us yet, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay, thank you. Carol, thank you very much. Carol Keeble, who runs the Holiday Park Action Group and is campaigning for change in the industry. Let's speak to Andrew next. And we'll speak to Andrew in a moment, who has spent decades working in the industry and currently works on a holiday park in Wales. We'll speak to him after some music. And if you bought a static caravan and had a bad experience, lost lots of money, we'd love to hear your stories. But equally, if you find it's your sanctuary, you've bought one and you can recommend it and have only had a good experience, we'd like to hear from you too. 88.2 91 on the text. We'll be back after this. We're asking if you regret buying a static caravan. Andrew, well, let's come to you now, as promised. You were keen to come on to point out there are good holiday parks out there.
That's right. Good afternoon, listeners. Hello, Tina. My name's Andrew. I've been in the industry for 31 years now, with my current employer for 13 years. I think those type of stats say there are other sides to the coin. There are rainbows on the horizon for people, and I'd just like to emphasise that my employer and myself both support the campaign for regulation in the industry.
So what's going wrong then, Andrew? Well, when we've heard from people who say that, the holiday parks are offering not a lot of money to buy back, and then they're putting them on sale for a much, much, much higher price, and these site fees going up and not knowing what they're buying into properly.
Sure. There's been a lot of change in the industry over the last 25 years. So there's been some substantial takeovers where you're getting big corporations but buying other operators. There are still small operators out there.
So is that a good thing? Is that a good thing, by the way, that they're being bought up by bigger operators?
It's not in the sense of the customer's satisfaction. They get more distance, the parks get bigger, So the owner base could be something in the region of 5 to 10,000 caravan owners. You compare it with a small family business, you might be talking of 200 owners. So the personal touch is very evident in the small park operators. All of us have to increase site fees. Mine have increased for next year. My increase is £145. That's going to reflect the fact that we heat a lovely swimming pool and have street lighting on, which of course have gone up in costings. Over the last 13 years, the site fee increase is absolutely minimal. People can come and talk to us. It's a different context to the large operations. Now, the large operations are what sometimes customers prefer because they like the franchise idea. And obviously things are on a bigger scale. So when customers go out, it's hard doing the research. But I think what would really help would be if there was a park operator, caravan owner, regulated agreement, which both parties agree to. And then when the customer goes looking, they can just do a wide berth when they come to any park that's not signed up to that agreement.
Yeah, that sounds like a good thing to sign up to. Andrew, thank you very much. The NCC, the National Caravan Council, that's a trade association for the UK caravan industry. Let's hear a bit of what it told us in a statement.
There are many thousands of holiday caravan owners on parks across the UK, and the vast majority are very happy. Holiday caravan ownership is a significant purchase decision, and the NCC encourages all potential owners to do their research in advance so they fully understand what they're buying and what ownership means. Like any holiday bolt hole, ownership will include ongoing costs, including utility costs, insurance and an annual pitch fee payable to the park. The cost of living crisis has impacted on the ownership of holiday caravans as well as everything else. If an owner chooses to sell the caravan back to the park, then, in the same way when a car is sold to a car dealership, the resale value will be less than the original purchase price, and the price obtained when sold to a private individual is likely to be greater.
OK, that was the National Caravan Council. They go on to say there's loads of information on the website detailing everything you need to know and consider before purchasing a static caravan. Let's speak to Helen. Helen, that's not your real name. Did you do your research before you bought a static van, as the NCC has suggested?
Yes, I did. Well, I thought I did. I believe that the park I purchased on told me exactly what I wanted to hear. That I did ask questions. Would the pitch fees go up? What percentage? Oh, it's minimal. £1,000 a year is not minimal in my eyes. But yes, I thought I'd done my research.
So how much did you spend?
Initially, 25,000 on a van. And then 3 months later, I upgraded to a newer van at an additional cost of, I think it was 9,000.
Right.
Then I needed to pay for skirting at 500, tarmacking outside the drive, 1,500, and slowly everything sort of adds up, and you're unaware of this. I was unaware of this.
So it became unaffordable for you.
Yeah.
And what did you do then?
I asked Park if they'd like to buy it back. They agreed at 8,400. And then after a couple of months, rang me and said, actually, we don't want to buy it anymore. So I was still left with this van that I thought I'd sold, and cancelled all my Airbnb, etc., that I had guest booked in. And then I've had to sell to a trader now for £3,000.
£3,000. So you bought it for 25,000 and you sold it for 3,000.
Yeah.
So how much money? I mean, horrible to work out, painful to work out. But how much money have you lost in total?
I absolutely dread to think. I'd say £40,000-50,000.
And what impact has that had? I mean, just awful.
A lot. Yeah, I was a single parent with 5 children. I got left some inheritance. I purchased a house and a car. With what was left, I thought that would be really nice for my children and me to have a little bolt hole. So I spent the rest on that and feel like I've just wasted it.
Helen, thank you for getting in touch with us. We really appreciate it. Let's speak to Michael. Michael, you own 7 parks in Norfolk.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yes. Clearly some bad practice going on in the industry.
Well, not in this neck of the woods. Not in this woods. My caravan parks are, the biggest one is 174 caravans, the smallest is 28. And we provide a different type of service to some of your listeners have explained. But I think there's a lot of naivety that I've heard on the program so far.
Yeah.
You know, no letting is one of the cast iron rules of my business, and that's what my customers want. It's a location-driven purchase. People want to come down and have a bolt hole. They don't want a stag party on one side and a hen party on the other, and that's what we're offering, peace and quiet. So no letting is crystal clear. And also, you cannot live on any of these caravan parks. If it's an 11-month park, which 4 of mine are, we get people saying, oh, no, we don't want to live there. We'll just be there for 11 months, then we'll go abroad for a month. That's living, and that is in contrary to the site licensing conditions. And your speaker that said caravans depreciate, of course they depreciate, just like a car.
Yeah.
And the lady that said that she, about the offering price, who's let the caravan, you have no idea what the condition of the caravan is after they've been let. I won't buy ex-letting caravans because they're trashed. Because people go in them for a week and think, it's not mine. I don't care what I do. I'll smoke. I'll put a hole in the upholstery. I won't clean the cooker, all this kind of thing. It's a different kettle of fish, the way I operate my business. But the people that are the bad practice are the big operators where they're number grinding. People are just, you know, a means of ripping off. There are small operators, and in West Norfolk there's a lot of individual operators, and we operate to a different standard completely.
Okay.
But you cannot isolate. I can't go and buy a new car and sell it after 2,000 miles and get all my money back. And it's the same thing with a holiday caravan.
Michael, thank you. Paul in Wales texts, I'm so glad you're finally covering the toxic industry of static caravan holiday parks. I was on a site in mid-Wales but received an eviction notice for speaking out about their sleazy business practices. It's a cesspit of bullying and lies, but our government refuses to change the regulations. Adam says, I worked in the industry for 12 years and the horror stories are all true. I left because the sales tactics were so dodgy. Billy says, it's always been a dream of my dad's to own a static caravan. We've owned one for 6 seasons and we've never regretted buying it.